Hello and welcome to another video. This is another one on the 1% gains. This is just about extras. So we had the sleeping one and the overview one. So give them a watch. This is just for my lifters and athletes, helping them make better decisions, just giving my opinion and giving some examples that I've used in the past. So the drawing for today is a, well, it was going to be, to be honest, it was going to be me with a six pack, but I started drawing a stick man and realised I can't really draw. So that's me with a six pack, because my extras is abs and core, and that's my weak area. So again, numbered list. People have been kind of liking this layout, so I'm keeping it as it is. Number one, mobility, flexibility. Now, personally, I do it first thing when I wake up and before bed, and I also do that with the second one as well, but we'll get to that. We all know that within reason, being more mobile is, well, pretty much not within reason. We all know that being more mobile than we currently are is going to help us performance, so why don't we do anything about it? Like all of these things, it's not that sexy. Like, it's pretty boring. It's not a max deadlift, it's not a max snatch, so it's quite boring in that sense, but a lot of us find it boring anyway. It can be fun. Once you see the benefit, you'll probably never stop doing it, and once you feel the benefit, you'll probably never stop pushing for mobility. But it's not just stretching, it's like actively pushing into new ranges, and there is a way to train it now. If you want to know more information on that, I'm gonna say message Claire, or message the Adapt Athletics Instagram page, and she will get you on there if you don't have her on Instagram. She knows way more about this than me, but obviously she's very flexible and very mobile, and because of that, she's progressing really well with lifting. So, well, not only because of that, obviously, but that's helped her a lot. So the strategies I would give to you are: take 5 minutes before bed. I refuse to believe, and no one that I know who's going to be watching this doesn't have 5 minutes before bed or first thing in the morning. I mean, no one I know doesn't have that. They just need to prioritize. And yes, I know people have stressful jobs and busy jobs, so I frequently have to be, up at 6 or 7 a.m. So I'll just set the alarm for a little bit earlier to do my stuff. It's as simple as that, really. It's hard because it sucks and it's painful. But again, it's one of those things where that is kind of it. If you have night shifts, fair enough, kind of thing. Like, same with the sleeping video. I don't know if I mentioned it actually, but if you have night shifts, obviously things change a lot, but you just do the best that you can, just improve. It's all about adaptive self-improvement, not comparing yourself to Meso Hosono, pro weightlifter whose whole family is just pushing him to get and helping him, so he has to do nothing other than train, sleep and eat, kind of thing. We're not that, unfortunately. I kind of wish we were, Might be pretty boring, but I wish we were. So my strategy for you is to do that first thing or before bed, or just find 5 or 10 minutes in. Focus on your weak areas. Let me know if you've got any specific areas you need to work on, because I've gone through most of them stretches wise, and it's about trying to find the most efficient stretches. So that's why I spend a lot of time in the 90-90 shin box position. It's good for both sides of the hip, internal rotation and external rotation. So it is really useful. It's one of those kind of drills where it's big and it gets a lot of muscles. It's not just like an isolated stretch. But then again, work on your specific weaknesses. So that kind of leads us on to prehab and rehab. I know the word the word prehab is a little bit bastardized. I know some sports rehabilitation professionals don't like the word prehab, and that you can't predict not getting an injury. But if you know you've got weak areas, at some point they will probably break down. So for me, it's obviously shoulders. Again, that's probably another video of reason why. But for me, it's shoulders, so I spend most of the time on shoulders. And they're currently progressing really well. So I got my first back bend kick over in about a year, after just buggering my shoulder a little bit. And the things I do, again, wake up first thing in the morning, 100 band pull aparts, start every day. Upper back has got way stronger. Rotator cuff, not just band pull aparts, by the way. I'm varying it. into kind of cheerleaders. What's it called? The money one. No monies, and scapular specific pull aparts. Again, maybe I'll make another video on that actually. That followed by shoulder cars, a couple reps on each side, a couple of reps on each direction. So capsular articular rotations, just specific mobility drill, and then a variety of actual stretches for it. That's the morning routine. And then I also do in that morning routine, while I'm doing the banded stuff, big toe work as well. It's been really useful for me actually for combating knee pain and also foot stability. So working on the big toe, usually strength, and then at the end a bit of mobility. And then at the end of that morning routine, for example, I'll sit in a deep squat or a shin box and get as much stretch as I can through the hips as well as the shoulders. So that's been a good one for me. So find your weak area, you know where it is most likely, and work on that. And again, it doesn't take long at all. It's like the old saying of, there might not be a saying, but I'll say it. Accumulate time, 5 minutes every day. 12 days, you've got a whole hour training extra in there, and it doesn't take any effort at all, really. So it's as simple as that. Just be consistent with it, similar to the sleeping pattern. Be as consistent as possible and you'll be fine. Number 3, core. Probably the thing that most people need in terms of strengthening and stabilizing the most. It's also one of those things where as coaches, we don't always want people to go off program. People think it's cool and fun and funny, but it matters a lot to your long-term development. It matters way more than you probably think. If the coach is tracking volumes and whatnot, there's certain times in the mesocycles that they're in that it's fine. It doesn't really matter as much, and I'll be honest, it doesn't for some. But for some, it really, really does matter. So every time you go off program, I just spat everywhere. Every time you go off program, even on my laptop, even if you go off program and you PB, and that's great to be fair. And it's, but it's one of those things where it's like, what would you have PB'd even more if you just waited? Especially when it's only a couple of weeks away. But yeah, that's another thing. But core is one of those things where if you add it in, the likelihood is the coach won't care. And that's fine. You could always do with a little bit more core. It's not that fatiguing. It's not like a heavy back squat where it neurally fatigues you. And again, it doesn't have to be loads. Kind of extra 5-10 minutes. You add that up, so I know Claire at the moment is doing at least 10, 15, 20 minutes of core every night, and she's got no issues. She's got no issues at all with core strength, but lower back strength, it's all fine. And obviously she doesn't have pain there as well. So because her abs are so strong, obviously from contortion and one, she's maybe a crazy example, but there you go. Again, it's not fun. Really, you can make it a bit more fun with strategies. Strategies I've used, actually listening to music, not using using things like planks, side planks, but for reps rather than time. So use a movement, be it I'm enjoying side plank with a lying dumbbell or weight raise, just for reps, because then you can actually rep out rather than obviously not with control, but you're not just sat there waiting for 45 seconds to a minute, which can be boring. It can be really useful though, so if you get programmed that, do it. But yeah, it can be boring. Watch TV while you're doing it. Listen to a podcast is quite a good one. Listen to some music. Change it up a lot, vary it. Even if I would actually do the same thing for a whole week, because then you get into the routine of it, and then on a Monday when motivation and persistence is at its highest and self-control is at its highest, change it up then it becomes a routine for the Tuesday, Wednesday, throughout to Sunday. Again, it doesn't have to be crazy, it doesn't have to be max weight planks, or for max time. Yeah, even if it was, it wouldn't fatigue you as much as you think. And then finally, other areas. This is a little bit different. Other areas of expertise. Talking to a couple of weightlifters this week, couple of my lifters, and actually some of my not lifters, some of not my lifters, the kind of, I guess, art of being for example, in this example, weightlifting, could be any sport, doing other things. So for me, everyone knows that I'm big on sprinting and jumping, and training that to get better. And I'm also not hugely big, but big-ish on gymnastics and gymnastics conditioning. Well, not gymnastics conditioning. So back bends, handstands, and all that jazz. Trying to actually just not be scared of that and just pick one. Now, this is a little bit trickier because you really do need to be smart about it. If I'm doing max sprints, for example, the day of or the day before a max snatch session, I'm not going to do well in the snatches. I will be wrecked. I might feel fine, and I probably would. My calves would be a little bit, but they would be fine. But neurally, I'd be fried. So these things are a little bit bigger than rehab style drills like band pull aparts and clamshells and McGill curl ups, for example. That's a good one for shoulder, glutes, and then core. But yeah, doing these other extras a little bit more extra than, basic drills, basic kind of rehabilitation drills. So you do need to factor in and probably ask your coach about that and what you can be achieving. And like anything, you have to start right from the start. If you've not got a background in jumping or sprinting, I was quite lucky in the sense that I did it at a very decent level for a very long time. So I can pretty much any time jump back into full sprints and not have any issues. I've never been injured sprinting. And obviously there are a lot of people who get injured sprinting, so I've been quite lucky in that sense. But if you are not one of those people, you will have to go from square one, i.e. learning how to absorb force. So doing rudiment hops or pogo jumps. By the way, pogo jumps you can never do enough of. Even when you're elite level, you can never do enough of them because they are very good to train the Achilles tendon, very good to train ankle robustness and foot strength. So pogos, I know if Stuart Milloy is watching this, he's probably laughing because he knows that I like pogos and he makes jokes about it. So if you're watching, Stuart, that's for you, pogos. But you would be starting on them, and you've just got to understand that that's the way it is. It's a little bit not sexy and a little bit boring, but it's key to eventually get to that, that point of high performance. Now, we were discussing, does training as a holistic athlete make you a better weightlifter, for example? I think we conclusively thought yes, if done correctly, like anything. If done correctly, it will help you. If done like a maniac, then maybe not. Obviously, you have to understand the interference effect of doing extra things. So there is no interference effect really with doing prehab, rehab, basic drills. You're not going to feel tired in the evening. If you do, after doing 5 minutes of stretching, then you're probably the issue, and your recovery is probably the issue and not the drills. If you're doing sprinting, for example, as an added extra, then fair enough, absolutely fair enough. You have to program that in correctly. If you're only, like me, lifting twice a week at the moment, well, weightlifting that is, Olympic weightlifting, your lift probably won't go up, and mine, we'll find out tomorrow because I've got possibly push stroke PBs, but might not. They probably won't go up too much if they do go up, and that's okay. If possibly my goal at the moment is to become a better athlete, do all these extra things, and then my base and my athletic base gets so much bigger. Now this is a bit of an Eddie Cohen quote. He said build the base, or was it? It was Eddie Cohen or Louis Simmons. It was a powerlifter, I believe. Build the base as big as you can for the pyramid of sports performance, and then your peak will be so much higher. If your base is this long, then your peak is going to be like here. If your base is this long, then your peak is going to be all the way up here, okay? So simple as that, really. That's my thinking anyway. That's my opinion. Like all of these videos. That's about what we've got time for. So that's a 1% gains you can do outside of the gym, little things you can do outside the gym to make yourself better in the gym and maximize your time in the gym. If anyone has any questions, as always, let me know. Have a splendid weekend. Stupendous.